Hello everyone, my name is Aurora Theodora Sitompul. I am from Universitas Methodist Indonesia and I am here to explain about one of the branches of psycholinguistics, which is language production. Psycholinguistics, or the psychology of language, is the study of the psychological and neurobiological factors that enable humans to acquire, use, and understand language. Language production is a concept in psycholinguistics that describes the stages of speech from the initial mental concept to the spoken or written linguistic result. There are four stages of language production. The first one is conceptualization, the second one is formulation, the next one is articulation, and the last one is self-monitoring. Conceptualization requires us to conceptualize what we wish to communicate. There are two ways to conceptualize. The first one is syntactic thinking, which means creating the sequence of words which we typically think of when we talk about how language is initiated. The second one is imagistic thinking, which means creating a visual mode of communication. These two ways will collaborate together to conceptualize conversation. The second stage is formulation, which means we formulate words that are going to express our thoughts. There are three steps on formulating words. The first one is grammatical encoding, which means selecting and retrieving the syntactic and lexical forms that can convey non-linguistic thoughts. The second step is morphological encoding, which means forming the correct word structure from selected words. And the last step is phonetic encoding, which means the mapping of an abstract linguistic code of the utterance into motor programs which guide speech articulation. In formulating words, sometimes humans do speech errors, or commonly known as tongue slips, which is a deviation which can be done conscious or unconscious from the apparently intended form of an utterance. There are 8 types of speech errors. The first one is shift, which means one speech segment disappears from its appropriate place. The second one is exchanges, which means two linguistic units exchange places. The third one is anticipations, which means a later segment takes the place of an earlier one. And the next one we have perseverations, which means an earlier segment replaces a later item. And then we have additions, which means adding a linguistic material. And then we have deletions, which means leaving something out. And the seventh one, we have substitutions, which means one segment is replaced by an intruder. And the last one, we have blends, which means more than one word is being considered and the two intended items blend into a single item. The third stage is articulations, which means all actions of the organs of the vocal tract that effect modifications of the signal generated by the voice source. Articulation performance is classified by first, the place of articulation, and then the manner of articulation. The third one is nasality, and the last one is degree of laterality. There are three general aspects of articulation. The first one is conformational, which means rooting in the vocal and nasal tract. The second one is topographical, which means categories of the tongue surface shape and the position of the tongue tip and root. And the last one is transitional, which means dynamic aspects of the articulator movement. The last stage of language production is self-monitoring, which means we monitor our speech, assessing whether it is what we intended to say and whether we said it the way we intended to. When we do speech errors, there is the thing called self-repair, and there are three parts of it. The first one is we interrupt ourselves after we have detected an error in our speech. The second one is we usually utter one of the various editing expressions, and finally, we repair the utterance. So we have finally reached by the end of the video. Thank you for watching.